Good evening. By the grace of God we are gathered, and I know that for many this little phrase, worn on a wristband or a cap, faith over fear, has been a comfort at midnight and a banner at dawn. It is simple. It is brave. It helps many breathe when the pulse of the world runs too fast. I honor that, and I honor you. But let us be patient enough to ask the deeper question, because the Spirit invites us beyond slogans to substance. Is pitting faith against fear the right field for us at all, or are we exhausting ourselves striking at a shadow on the wall? I'm not here to take a side. This is not a work of attributing virtues to one word and vices to another. This is not judging the bracelet on a wrist or the verse on a bumper. We are not for the slogan or against the slogan. We are after the reality to which language is trying to point. Let us set the record straight at the outset. This is not taking sides. This is letting light in clarification of terms and powers so that we no longer crown a second authority by our very opposition to it. Be still and know that I am God. If that is so, and I'm willing to put it on an if basis, then the battleground, as we have imagined it, might be a mirage. The soul that is still enough often discovers that peace does not come by one human emotion conquering another. Peace arrives as presence, without contest. Live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. If we proceed on that basis, we are not arguing with fear. We are not enthroning faith as a dualist. We are stepping out of the arena where shadows fight shadows. I have watched this in quiet rooms and crowded streets. A mother in a hospital corridor holding a cup of cold coffee whispered, "Faith over fear like a lifeline." In her kindness she tightened her jaw to be brave for her son. I sat near her without a word. I did not push her fear. I did not pull her faith. I let the gentle awareness that there is only one power be the atmosphere. In 5 minutes she remembered to breathe. In 10, her shoulders fell. Nothing had been defeated. Something had been revealed. Perfect love casteth out fear, not as a club, but as the dawn removes night by being what it is. Now, hear me tenderly. If we make faith a sword to slash at fear, we may win a sensation of victory and lose the substance of peace. Opposition is subtle. The moment we oppose, we grant reality to the thing opposed. We make it a power and ourselves its equal and adversary. And then we are back on the field, helmets on, shouting at the wind. Do you see why I ask whether the battleground is itself a mirage? My kingdom is not of this world, the Master said, not of the world of dueling powers, not of the world of over and under, winners and losers. The kingdom is presence recognized. And in that recognition, contests dissolve. So I am inviting you not to argue, not to persuade a neighbor, but to taste. Let us experiment with a different posture. Instead of stacking faith over fear like sandbags, let us withdraw our attention from the storm altogether and take our stand in the one. If I hadn't witnessed this for years in my own life and work, I would not say it so confidently. Peace begins where fighting ends. Peace begins when you stop swinging at the shadow on the bedroom wall and you turn on the light. Therefore, as we set out tonight, accept this as our method. Contemplative, experiential, not argumentative. Abide in the Word. Sit in the stillness. Smile not the human smile of denial, but the inner smile that whispers, "Thou hast no power." We are not here to take sides between faith and fear. We are here to see whether there is any second side at all when the one is known. From then on, it isn't difficult. The Spirit does the lifting. God's grace is our sufficiency in all things, and grace needs no opponent. It only needs recognition. When we take faith over fear as a contest, faith hardens into a sword. We lift it to strike at an enemy, and in that very lift we anoint the enemy. Opposition is subtle. The moment we resist fear as if it were a force to be repelled, We set a second throne in consciousness and we seat fear upon it. Then even our prayers become campaigns. Our affirmations become battle cries, and the heart, meaning to be brave, beats itself into exhaustion. A house divided against itself shall not stand. Peace cannot proceed from a divided throne. I have watched this, not in theory, but in living rooms and committee rooms. A father, wanting to steady his home, scours headlines at midnight and shouts verses at the dark. He intends courage. He cultivates combat. His pulse answers the very specter he is opposing, and I have heard it on the streets. No fear becomes the chant. And the air thickens with a push against energy until both sides, naming different adversaries, breathe the same weather of resistance. Policies are drafted in the same climate: deter, defend, outshout, outlaw, outmuscle, spiritualized, medicalized, politicized, but always more pressure. Is more opposition spiritualized or not the path to peace? The answer is no. Please hear me gently. I am not asking you to be careless. I am asking you to be clear about power. When faith becomes a sword, it ceases to be faith in the one and becomes faith in a tactic. It becomes confidence in how sharply we can swing, how loudly we can declare, how sternly we can refuse to feel. That is still Tunis. That is still the world of winners and losers, and even when you win a round, you lose the substance of stillness. Resist not evil, the Master said, not as an invitation to passivity, but as a revelation of principle. Resistance recognizes an evil power. Non-resistance recognizes God. I have seen people attempt to frighten fear away with holy language. They pound the table with scripture until the table trembles, and then they call the trembling faith. Beloved, the Word of God is a sword, yes, but it is the sword of the Spirit. It cuts illusion from reality. It does not cut foes from friends. It divides appearance from truth, not neighbor from neighbor, not heartbeat from peace. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. The world gives peace by threat, by leverage, by superior force. Spirit gives peace by presence. Presence needs no opponent. It needs recognition. Look out upon the earth and you will hear the global echo of the same inner habit. Nations fortify borders against fear. Institutions legislate against fear. Markets hedge against fear. Homes schedule against fear. And because the premise is fear as a power to be managed, the management multiplies. We inoculate against ideas. We censor against anxieties. We stratify against loss. And through it all, fear sits crowned by our careful attention, nourished by the calories of our argument. Do you not see that the more we fight it, the more co-equal we make it? Let us be honest with the soul. Opposition crowns a second power. Peace cannot proceed from a divided throne. Therefore, the question before us is not how to wield a bigger, kinder, holier sword, but whether there is a second power to strike at all. If I hadn't witnessed this for years in sick rooms where silence stilled fevers, in negotiations where a single minute of inward surrender dissolved weeks of hard posturing, I could not sit here so quietly, but I have witnessed it. The very instant we let the belief in Tunis slip from our grasp, pressure loses its project, fear loses its oxygen. Perfect love does not conquer as armies conquer. Perfect love casteth out fear, as dawn casts out night, by being, not by battling. So let us pause now and notice where the fist of the heart is clenched. Notice where you are still swinging at shadows. Lay the sword down, not because you are weak, but because you are willing to live from a different premise. There is only one power. Say it within, not to argue with fear, but to withdraw your consent from its enthronement. This is not taking a side. This is leaving the arena altogether. From then on, it isn't difficult. The Spirit does the lifting. God's grace is our sufficiency in all things. Now let us speak plainly and kindly about the shadow itself. Fear grips the world. Hear that as diagnosis, not as accusation. This is not your defective heart, nor your family's flaw, nor your private failure to be brave enough. Fear is a universal mesmerism, an atmosphere, a weather whispering through headlines, balances, lab reports, and daydreams at 3 a.m. It is not personal, it is not yours. God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. If that is so, and I am willing to keep it on an if long enough for you to test it, then fear, wherever you find it, is an imposter renting space in consciousness on a month-to-month that you have the right to cancel. I have sat with scholars and with mechanics, with pastors and with people who claim no creed at all, and the weather of fear feels the same. That alone should tell you it is universal. Do not take it personally. Do not add shame to a passing gust. When a draft slips under the door, you do not scold yourself for getting cold. You rise and close the latch. So with fear. It is a noise without substance, thunder without storm. Its only force is the consent you lend it. The moment you stop paying it interest, its account closes. Fear loses breath the moment you stop lending it yours. Some have asked me, then what do I do when the pulse races, when the mind rehearses the worst scene in the theater? Do not argue with it. Do not brace against it. Open the inner window. Let the wind pass through a room that does not clutch at gusts. In practice, it sounds like this, silently within. Fear, you are not mine. Thou hast no power, not because we are denying a sensation, but because we are withdrawing assent from its claim to authority. Resist not evil does not mean roll over. It means do not furnish a throne for a non-king. You are not being heroic by gritting your teeth. You are being faithful by refusing to certify a non-power with your signature. I have watched this in the slightest, most ordinary ways. A mother, hearing a cough in the night, feels the old current come up like a tide. She pauses at the doorway. She breathes, and in that breath she remembers. Universal, not personal. In that remembrance, she smiles not the grin of denial, but the gentle recognition that presence is here. That smile is a sacrament. It drains the appearance of the credit we had been fronting it. The child settles. The house remembers itself. It is I. Be not afraid. Sometimes the only sermon needed is the curve of a quiet mouth that will not lend breath to panic. If I hadn't witnessed this for years, I wouldn't speak so simply. But again and again, when fear is named as universal and refused as personal property, its edges soften and its agenda dissolves. In the office, where deadlines slap the desk like surf, do the same. In traffic, when sirens provoke an old ache, do the same. Do not posture, do not perform, smile within, let the air move. Stand in the fact there is only one power, and let the suggestion pass like a cloud over a sun it cannot touch. Even if the body trembles for a moment, you are not obligated to tremble with it in agreement. You can be still and know while the wind spends itself. Remember, we are not trying to be fearless superheroes. We are being true to principle. What is universal does not require your apology to be released. You do not have to confess more courage than you possess, nor pretend to command your nerves. You have only to refrain from deputizing a rumor into law. Withhold your yes. Withhold your rehearsal. Withhold your breath. And if you would like a visible cue to anchor the invisible stance, let it be that small, relaxed smile that says, no second power here. It is astonishing how often that is enough to remind the room, the body, the meeting, of the one that has always been governing. Peace be still. That was not said to a disciple to perform. It was said to an atmosphere to recognize its master. Let it be so in you. Let every swaying thought hear that tone, not from a strained throat, but from a rested heart. Fear grips the world. Yes, but you, beloved, need not grip it back. Open the window. Withdraw the loan of your breath. Smile, and watch how quickly a universal draft, finding no purchase in you, moves on in search of another latch left open. Now we turn to the heart of the matter. There is only one power. If that is more than a phrase, if it is the ground on which we stand, then everything that has frightened us, everything that has pretended to govern us, must be seen for what it is: effect, not cause; appearance, not authority; weather, not climate. In him we live and move and have our being. If our being is in him, what agency is left outside to threaten it? None. And when that is known, not mouthed, but known, peace does not have to be produced. Peace announces itself as the nature of the one. I am not asking you to adopt a philosophy because it is poetic. I am asking you to test the simplest axiom in all spiritual life. All causative efficacy belongs to the inner spiritual reality. The infinite and visible is cause. What we call conditions are but the pictures flickering on the screen of sense. They do not touch the light that projects them. We have, for generations, tried to edit the pictures with scissors and glue and better slogans, and sometimes the scene changes, but the projector remains unaddressed. The work is not there. The work is here. Live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. Antithesis helps us see clearly. Sword of the Spirit, not the surgeon's knife. Spiritual causation, not material coercion. Presence, not pressure. I am not condemning any temporal aid a neighbor may require at 2 a.m. I am telling you where power is. If the night is dark, you can strike the furniture to drive back the shadows, or you can turn on the light. He hangeth the earth on nothing. The ground of being is not a scaffold of human levers and pulleys. It is the quiet action of grace that governs, because it is being itself. The government shall be upon his shoulder. Whose shoulder? Not mine, not yours. The one. Peace is not an outcome managed by policies or a mood staged by music. Peace is a presence discovered and felt, the felt fact of God as all. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. The world gives by bargain, by truce, by balancing fears. Spirit gives by being. When you acknowledge only one power, what is there left to fight? The wind may rattle the windows, but the house does not have to evacuate. Be still and know. Peace is not one. It is recognized where only one is acknowledged. If I hadn't witnessed this across years and miles, I could not say it so plainly. I have watched tumors quiet and boardrooms unclench, not because we found the clever argument, but because someone in the room surrendered the belief in a second power. I have sat by a man whose breathing raced like a track runner's. We did not shout verses at his lungs. We did not marshal courage. We rested. We turned silently to the infinite invisible and let the awareness dawn. The life of God is the life of this man. There is no other life, no other law, no other cause. Within minutes, the rhythm remembered its source. If I had not witnessed this sort of thing again and again, I would put all of this on a perhaps, but grace proves itself when given the arena of your consent. Understand, this is not a trick to get results. It is reality recognized. The tree does not wrestle to be rooted. It remains in what holds it. Maturity is nothing more than that. Moving trust from what you can grip to what holds you. When appearances shove, do not shove back. Do not enthrone the shove. Acknowledge one power. Whisper it if you must. There is only one power. Let the words not be magic, but a key turning in the quiet door of recognition. And notice peace is present before the circumstance adjusts, because peace is presence, and presence is first cause. So, when you ask, where do I begin? Begin here. In the room where you are, in the pulse you have, in the thought that is moving now, withdraw any second authorization. Effects are not causes. Conditions are not powers. Appearances are not authorities. The one is all. That is not a slogan. That is the end of slogans. From then on, it isn't difficult. The Spirit does the lifting. God's grace is our sufficiency in all things. Non-opposition is not passivity. Do not confuse gentleness with resignation. Resist not evil is not an endorsement of apathy. It is a revelation of principle. Resistance recognizes a second power and braces against it. Non-opposition refuses to grant a second power any certification at all. It is the quiet revocation of a counterfeit's license. You are not ignoring appearances. You are denying them jurisdiction. You are not boxing the dark. You are turning on the light. And when light is on, what is left to fight? Peace arrives. Not because you have proven yourself stronger than a storm, but because you have stopped loaning your breath to the wind. Consider the Master. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. He did not arm wrestle leprosy. He did not recoil from an untouchable. He revealed life where life seemed eclipsed. He revealed wholeness where a picture suggested fragmentation. He lived from cause, not from effect. He touched, and in that touch there was no debate, no push, no campaign against disease. It was presence recognized, and recognition did the work. That is non-opposition. That is our method. Not a human force applied to an object, but the recognition of the one dissolving the pretense of two. How does this look at 9 a.m. when the email reads like thunder? Turn within, be still, let the shoulders fall, let the breath remember that it is breathed. Say nothing aloud. Witness, acknowledge, silently, the one. There is only one power. Withdraw the power you have been lending to pictures. If a thought of urgency knocks, do not argue, do not brace. Let it pass through a door you have not locked from the inside. Ask quietly, what is true of God here? Hold no opinion. Hold awareness. Let presence define the scene. If a word comes, speak it without push. If a step comes, take it without strain. If nothing comes, remain. Do not make a god of motion. Make a sanctuary of stillness. From pushing against to resting in, from fixing effects to beholding cause. That is the operational shift. We have spent years polishing mirrors and scolding the reflections. Non-opposition turns to the light that makes any seeing possible. You will find that when the light is honored, the reflection straightens itself. The child's fever of panic cools because you did not crown panic. The colleague's fury loses its script because you did not audition for the part of adversary. Peace, be still, is said within, not to suppress a neighbor's voice, but to unmask the stage direction that had no author. And the sea, finding no wind in you, remembers glass. Do not mistake this for technique. Techniques bargain with outcomes. Presence is outcome-free and therefore unfailingly fruitful. Practice, yes, but not to get practice to be. Imperatives help you keep to the narrow way. Turn within, be still, witness. Refuse credentialing a second power. Smile quietly, inwardly, reverently. Let the spine of the soul straighten. Let your words be few until they are not words of defense. Let the Spirit do the lifting. If a call must be made, make it from center, not from scramble. If a boundary must be set, set it without bile. If a tear must fall, let it fall without verdict. Non-opposition does not deny the wave. It denies the wave a crown. In a boardroom where tempers heat, try it. While charts flash and voices climb, ladders to nowhere, drop through the floor of reaction, one breath, one recognition. The government shall be upon his shoulder, not mine, not yours. Sit not as a rival force, but as a transparency for the one. You will see it. Someone forgets the line he rehearsed. Another laughs softly at her own insistence. A third suggests a pause. Peace arrives because pressure is starved. In a kitchen where the old family argument turns its wheel, do the same. No speech, a presence. The wheel, missing your foot, stops grinding air. This is not taking sides. This is leaving the arena. This is how peace arrives. Not by superior pressure, but by no pressure at all, by the advent of presence, where push had been promoted to deity. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. The world gives by leverage. Spirit gives by being. Non-opposition is the practical way you let presence do what pressure never can. There is only one power. Be still and know. Then watch how swiftly the shadow, finding no one to spar with, disappears into the light it never could resist. We have all learned to live by visible defenses. Arguments perched by the door like watchdogs. Policies layered like armor. Routines lined up like sandbags. Alarms chirping from wrists and walls to prove the perimeter is guarded. Calendars crammed as if busyness were a moat. Insurance papers filed as if signatures could command tomorrow. I am not mocking any neighbor's prudence. I am not advocating recklessness. I am naming a habit so common we call it normal. Leaning our trust on what we can grip, as if wood and wire and clever sentences and careful schedules could shield us from what is only ever resolved at the level of being. Hear the invitation, not as a scold, but as an emancipation. Make a conscious transition from dependence on that which is visible, audible, measurable, to a complete reliance upon that which is invisible, inaudible, immeasurable, yet more substantial than stone. He hangeth the earth on nothing. If that is so, and I am willing to leave it on an if until you have proved it, then you may rest on what cannot fall. You may entrust your hours, your house, your health, your headlines to the one that holds all without strain. We live, truly live, through that which cannot be seen, heard, tasted, touched, or smelled. Sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell report effects. Spirit is cause. There is only one power. How do we make the transition? Gently, deliberately, in little ways that become a life. When you reach for the argument that used to win the day, pause. Do not abandon wisdom. Abandon the belief that your sharpness is your shelter. Turn within. Be still. Let the inner assurance precede the outer reply. When you tap the app that tracks every beat of your heart, pause. I do not say delete the tool. I say delete its throne. Whisper within. The life of God is the life of me. The one governs the rhythm. When you add another lock to the door because of something you read at midnight, pause. Secure what conscience leads. Then, before sleep, remove power from the latch and give it back to the invisible. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. This is not negligence. This is right placement of trust. The boat may still have oars. The wind may still fill the sail. But the confidence moves from oar and canvas to the presence that quiets waters before an oar dips, that directs breezes before a sail is raised. Maturity means moving trust from what you can grip to what holds you, from bracing to being born, from manning the ramparts to abiding in the secret place of the Most High. We walk by faith, not by sight, and I do not mean blind belief in outcomes. I mean conscious reliance on the infinite invisible as the only causative law in this scene, any scene, every scene. You will notice the change almost immediately. Where once the shoulders rode high because vigilance meant tension, now there is a quiet lowering because vigilance has become recognition. The weight shifts from you to grace. From then on, it isn't difficult. The tasks may remain, but the strain departs. The email is answered, but not by a clenched jaw. The boundary is set, but not with bio. The plan is made, but not as a hedge against calamity, as a transparency for order already present. God's grace is our sufficiency in all things. Grace operates, we consent. Grace governs, we recognize. Grace provides, we refrain from crowning substitutes. Test this where you are most tempted to rely on props. In the meeting where policy feels like the only anchor, begin with presence. In the kitchen where the budget spreadsheet pretends to be salvation, begin with presence. In the night when news sirens rehearse a world on fire, begin with presence. Be still and know that I am God. Let the knowing come first. Then do what is yours to do, no more, no less. The visible will arrange itself around the invisible you have honored. The lock will click, the plan will print, the medicine will be taken or not taken as led, but none of these will be your God. The one will be your God, and the soul, discovering that it has never been responsible for holding the earth in orbit, will rest on what cannot fall. Grace is not an argument, grace is an operation. My grace is sufficient for thee. Hear it as fact, not flattery. Sufficiency means enoughness at the level of cause. It is gift, not wage, presence, not payment. We do not earn it by screwing courage tighter. We do not summon it by louder prayers. We recognize it. We consent to it. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. When grace is functioning, you are not straining to lift the world onto your shoulders. You are discovering it has always been on his. There is only one power. Grace is that one power in action as effortless rightness. Notice how striving outruns itself. We push to secure the outcome, and the push breeds more push. We argue to prove we are safe, and the argument sharpens the very edge that frightened us. Pressure makes a poor savior. It can move furniture, it cannot move being. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. Spirit works in silence as unhurried precision. It does not miss a door. It does not misplace a word. It does not arrive late with apologies or early with anxieties. Grace outworks itself quietly, exactly, unfailingly. If I had not witnessed this for years, I would keep it on a perhaps, but I have watched the very hour that panic says is lost become the hour the answer comes. Because someone in that hour stopped arguing and let grace operate. This changes our whole economy of being. We no longer work for peace. Peace works through us. That is not a slogan. It is a transference of agency from self-assertion to self-revelation. You will still show up at 9. You will still draft the email, attend the hearing, clean the kitchen, call the doctor. But you will not attempt to manufacture harmony by pressure. You will sit as a transparency and let harmony reveal itself as order already present. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. When that is true in consciousness, you become a place where peace performs its natural function without your anxious management. What does the operation of grace feel like? Effortless rightness. A step that appears at the moment of the step and bears your weight without rehearsal. a word that lands in the room without the sting of self-importance, a delay that turns out to be a protection and not a failure, a no that is actually a yes to a wiser route. The blessing announces itself not only by the outcome, but by the absence of strain in the arriving. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. Sorrow here is the aftertaste of pressure, fatigue, second-guessing, victory with a hangover. Grace leaves no such residue. When it is worked, the heart is rested and the edges are smooth as if the answer had been placed, not pride. Guard this with humility. Certainty belongs to the principle, not to our personalities. Be open-handed, not triumphal. No boasting, no parading of results. If a door opens, step through with quiet gratitude. If a door stays shut, remain with the same gratitude, for you are measuring sufficiency by presence, not by pictures. This is not taking sides in human contests. This is leaving the arena of personal prowess. He that glorieth, let him glory in the Lord. The gentle surety of grace is never a fist on a table. It is the calm center that reveals tables are not thrown. Let me tell you how this has met me, again and again. A woman sits with a legal notice on her desk. Every voice in her says, hasten, defend, retaliate. She turns within, not passively, intentionally. She refuses to authorize a second power. She acknowledges one. Within an hour, the phone rings, and a conversation that had been frozen in accusation melts into clarity neither party could have argued their way toward, or a man wakens at 2 with the old throb. He has two choices: marshal panic with remedies, or be still and let grace govern the very law of his life. He chooses stillness. He breathes, smiles, remembers. God's grace is my sufficiency in all things. He does what he must do, no more, no less, and the body remembers its law because consciousness has remembered its cause. If I had not witnessed these patterns in homes and hospitals, in shops and schools, I would not speak so plainly. But grace works when pressure steps down from the dais. From then on, it isn't difficult. You live under a new administration, not your vigilance as governor, but the government upon his shoulder. Live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. Let peace do its own work through you. If a word is needed, it will be given. If a silence is needed, it will be held. If a path is needed, it will appear as you are walking. What grace does through you exceeds what pressure can do by you. And when you feel the cue, the inward click that says, enough, stop the argument, let the operation proceed, grace governs, you consent, grace provides, you refrain from crowning substitutes. And the soul, relieved of its self-appointed labors, discovers again how light the yoke is when the one power bears the weight. Now take it to practice, not as a lecture to the room, but as a devotion of the heart. These are silent disciplines. They do not need an audience. They are not techniques to convince a condition. They are invitations for presence to be what it already is. Peace transmits by presence, not persuasion. So when the weather of fear brushes your cheek, whether in a corridor scented with antiseptic, in a kitchen where numbers do not add, or in the hum of an office where voices quicken, do this and do it within. First, pause. The pause is the gap in which mesmerism breaks. Breathe. Let the shoulders drop a shade. Soften the gaze not only of the eyes, but of attention. Do not reach for a sentence. Do not reach for a defense. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not empty. It is the clearing where recognition can appear. In that pause, the reflex to fight loses its immediate claim. You have stepped off the treadmill a single pace. That is enough for grace to find your feet. Second, name the appearance without tribute. This is not a shout. It is a gentle verdict entered in the court of your own awareness. Thou hast no power. Say it inwardly to the suggestion, not as denial of sensation, but as denial of authority. Fear is universal, not personal. You are not scolding a self. You are withdrawing certification from a rumor. Do not embroider. Do not add reasons. Do not argue with pictures. Just the simple revocation. Thou hast no power. You will feel how quickly the mind wants to debate. Refuse at the platform. One short sentence and be done. Third, turn attention to presence, not to a thought about God, but to God. Feel for the inner, quiet as tangible peace, the subtle warmth in the chest, the unforced lengthening of breath, the sense of being held. This is not imagination, it is recognition. In Him we live and move and have our being. Let being be felt. Do not hurry it. You are not trying to make peace arrive. Peace is already here as the one. You are moving your trust from what you can grip to what holds you. If words wish to rise, let them be few, Father, here, or simply I. Let the awareness deepen until the atmosphere within is calmer than the appearance without. Fourth, smile, not as performance, but as embodiment of non-opposition. The small, relaxed smile disarms the last temptation to argue. It says, without speech, no second power here. It unknots the jaw. It returns the tongue to its rest. It is a sacrament of trust. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Hold that smile lightly, even invisibly, and watch how quickly inner pressure looks for another host. You are not pushing the wave back. You are refusing to enthrone it. Fifth, bless silently. Extend non-fear on behalf of others. Let your awareness include the child coughing in the next room, the colleague across the table, the figure in the headline, the stranger 3 chairs away. Do not preach. Do not mentally correct. Simply recognize the life of God is the life of this one. The law of God is the law of this place. The peace of God is present here. Inclusion lifts, debate divides. As the Master stood in the boat and the sea heard, so let your calm become a climate. Peace, be still. You are not casting a spell. You are removing the crown from appearances everywhere your consciousness touches, which is farther than you suppose. Keep this work hidden. Do not teach it. Practice it. Let outcomes speak in a waiting room while others count the minutes. Abide in the secret place of the Most High, and you will notice the minutes lose their teeth. In a meeting, while tempers rehearse their lines, let your silence be a greater word. Someone will suggest an adjournment, or a new path will appear no pressure could have produced. In your own night watches, when the pulse narrates emergencies, return to the sequence. Pause, name without tribute, turn to presence, smile, bless. Then, if a step is required, take it. If a word is given, speak it. If a rest is asked, rest. The Father that dwelleth in me, He doeth the work. I have watched these simple obediences open doors no argument could pry. If I hadn't witnessed this, I would leave it on a perhaps, but again and again the silent disciplines prove sufficient because they anchor you in the one power and leave nothing for a second to oppose. Practice them quietly. Practice them often. Practice them everywhere. You will find that peace, once welcomed as presence within, does not stop at your skin. It walks out ahead of you and prepares the way, and when you arrive, the room has already remembered what governs it. Now let us watch how this lives, not as theory, but as quiet outcomes. The same presence that calms a pulse can calm a nation. If it is the one, it cannot be local. If it is cause, it cannot be confined to a corner of your day. Begin where fear shouts the loudest, and you will see the pattern repeat itself with a faithfulness that humbles the mind and gladdens the heart. In the sick room, we do not battle a symptom. We witness life. I am the Lord that healeth thee. Not I, Joel, not you with tightened lips. I, life itself, is the only law. A woman lies with breath that trips and stumbles. The monitors draw jagged hieroglyphs, and the room is tempted to kneel to a picture. We do not argue the picture. We do not crown the jag. We turn silently to the infinite invisible and recognize the life of God is the life of this one. The law of spirit is the law of this being. The law of the spirit of life in Christ Jesus hath made me free. Fear is universal, not personal. It has no license here. Thou hast no power. Within minutes, the rhythm remembers its music. Sometimes it is hours. Sometimes it is the next day. But the movement is always the same. As authority returns to one, effect follows cause. If I hadn't witnessed this times without number in homes scented with broth and antiseptic, in wards where midnight shuffles its feet, I would leave it on a perhaps, but grace given a willing altar proves itself. Carry this same seeing into home and work. Do not fix people. Behold God. A son returns late, eyes blazing with borrowed anger, a script in his pocket that calls you adversary. Withhold no correction that love requires. Withhold the belief that your push is power. Turn within. Smile quietly, invisibly. Recognize one acting as all. Charity suffereth long and is kind. And I do not mean human patience stretched thin. I mean love as law. You will see it. A softened word where a hard one had cued. An unexpected confession. An apology that no lecture could squeeze from pride. In the office, while a manager and a team square off across a spreadsheet, become transparency rather than tactician, the government shall be upon his shoulder, not yours. Sit still inside. Watch how the meeting loses its teeth. A third way appears, not as compromise between fears, but as wisdom that neither side could invent under pressure. Now widen the lens. Civic strain, labor and capital, policy and protest, slogans hurling past each other like stones. This is not a work of attributing virtues to capital or to labor. This is not taking sides. Withdraw fear's fuel and watch wisdom appear. If you live in that city, bless your counsels. Do not preach at them. Abide in secret, refusing to authorize a second power in the public square. Seek the peace of the city, for in the peace thereof shall ye have peace. I have seen hearings that promise to spill into the street, settle into order, because someone, sometimes only one, sat in that room, no longer mesmerized by sides, and so presence found a channel to say the necessary sentence at the necessary moment. And geopolitics? Is material power the solution? Bigger and more bombs? The answer is no. We have had centuries to disprove that idol. Wars won't do it. Diplomacy conducted as a duel of fears won't do it. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. Do not wait for capitals to learn this before you practice it. Nations breathe through the consciousness of their peoples. You are not powerless, you are a place. Stand there. With every headline that tries to conscript your pulse, be still. Refuse to let your fear enroll in any army. Recognize one power, embracing all peoples, all borders, all leaders, yes, even the one your tribe mistrusts. This is not naivete. This is non-opposition at sovereign scale. I have watched ceasefires hold that no negotiator could guarantee because prayer, not pleading, but presence, had taken the heat out of the air, and the word that could not be heard in a furnace was finally audible in a room cooled by grace. Do you see the pattern? Wherever non-opposition reigns, and one power is acknowledged, unnecessary conflicts quietly dissolve. The fever of the body, the quarrel at the table, the stalemate at the factory, the tension between flags, they all yield to the same law because there is only one law, only one life, only one power. Do not advertise this. Live it. Practice it in your breath and let it travel on you like weather. The same presence that calms a pulse can calm a nation. Let it calm you now and watch how far that calm can go. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Be that blessing in silence, and the world near and far will remember its center. Now we come to the simple turn that changes identity. We have stood long enough as fear-driven reactors measuring the room, bracing for the next gust, sharpening answers as if answers were armor. Lay that role down. Take your true place as grace-governed witnesses. Witnesses do not perform power, they behold it. They do not push, they consent. They are not swayed by the picture, they are steadied by presence. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Let this become the robe you wear into every hour. This is a nonpartisan peace. I do not mean centrist sentiment. I mean no sides at all when it comes to power. There is only one power. Take no human flag. Take no tribal corner. Let the presence take the field. The minute you enroll your fear on a side, you have made two powers and divided your own house. And a divided house is noisy. Refuse the noise. Live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. When the slogans press you, be still. When the headlines recruit you, be still. When your own pulse suggests that speed is salvation, be still. Be still and know that I am God. Knowing ends recruitment. Test and see. I am willing to put it on an if that is so for you. If you will abide in the Word, not visit it, not sample it, but abide, give it time, and notice the quiet rightness that follows. Rightness without fanfare, tangles loosening as if no one pulled, words arriving that no rehearsal could invent, meetings cooling without public heroics, a child sleeping after a night of fret, a call returned with kinder tone. This is how the kingdom moves. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. The growth is of God. Our part is to stay planted in the one. Carry these few instructions like a pocket psalm. Turn within, be still, say within. There is only one power. Smile inwardly, bless silently. Leave the rest to grace. Do not advertise it. Do not debate it. Let outcomes be your quiet testimony. If I hadn't witnessed this over and over in homes, in hospitals, in boardrooms, in city chambers, I could not sit here so confidently. But I have, and the pattern holds because the principle holds. God's grace is our sufficiency in all things. It is operation, not argument. From this hour, measure your stance by one sentence. One with God proves to be a majority. Let that one be your only side. If you feel outnumbered, remember you are miscounting. You are counting appearances. And appearances are not powers. Presence is power. Stand there. As you do, you will find that you have become a place of rest in a restless age. Not because you have solved the world's math, but because you have ceased pretending there are two equations. Fear is universal, not personal. Withdraw your credential, and its mouth closes. Peace is not one. It is recognized where one alone is acknowledged. And now the benediction, not words about calm, but the presence that is calm. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Receive it as sufficiency. Let it rise like a soft tide around the ankles of every storm. The presence of the gentle Christ is sufficient to calm the storms of life. He speaks his peace be still in you before it echoes through any sea. Let that voice be the law of your house, your heart, your work, your city. The government shall be upon his shoulder. Rest your shoulders. Go, then, in this non-opposing strength. Live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. Refuse enlistment in any fear. Take no sides. Let the one take you. Abide in the Word. Give it time. Watch for the quiet rightness that follows. Bless by being, not by arguing. And as you go, remember there is only one power. One with God proves to be a majority. Let that one be your only side, and the world around you will find its center by finding you at yours. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and give thee peace. Amen.